What if you stopped waiting, stopped planning, stopped hesitating, and decided that by the end of 2026, you'd be a millionaire? Not by luck, not by inheritance, but because you engineered it. Sounds extreme, right? Good. It should sound extreme, because anything less than extreme effort won't cut it anymore. You're not living in a slow world. You're living in a hyper-connected, AI-driven, digitally explosive world where leverage is everywhere and excuses are obsolete. This is not a motivational speech. This is a blueprint. It's a decision to stop surviving and start building. Not in 5 years, not someday, but now, because 2026 is closer than you think, and what you do today determines who you'll be when it arrives. So if I wanted to become a millionaire in 2026, I would do 5 things. And if you're serious, you will too. Not because it's easy, but because it's possible. If I wanted to become a millionaire in 2026, the first thing I would do is commit to relentless learning and execution. That may sound obvious, but it's not about casually reading books or watching a few videos online. I'm talking about an obsession with learning that borders on uncomfortable intensity, where curiosity is weaponized. If you want uncommon results, you need uncommon levels of understanding. You have to go deeper than the surface. Most people consume information passively, but that doesn't build anything. To become a millionaire in a single year, you need to turn learning into a competitive advantage, into a mental habit that feeds action every single day. This means identifying exactly what you need to learn to dominate your space. Whether it's mastering a coding language, understanding supply chains, cracking marketing algorithms, or reverse engineering profitable business models. The point is not to become a generalist. The point is to become so good at something valuable that people can't ignore you. That requires narrowing your focus and drilling down into your field until you see connections others miss. You shouldn't just know what works. You should know why it works, how to replicate it, and how to make it better. But knowledge alone doesn't create wealth. There are millions of smart people working for hourly wages. Execution is the multiplier. Execution is the difference between the person with good ideas and the person whose life changes. If you want to become a millionaire, your ideas must be transformed into experiments, tests, systems, and results. Fast. The world rewards people who move. You have to act quickly, break things, adjust, and move again. You can't wait for perfection or permission. Every day becomes a cycle of learn, apply, evaluate, iterate. There's a mindset shift that has to happen, from consumption to creation, from passively watching success stories to actively building your own. You stop asking, what if? And start saying, let's test this now. You stop fearing mistakes and start craving feedback. Because the fastest learners in the world don't just read. They build. They ship, they fail. And they do it faster than everyone else. That feedback loop becomes your most valuable teacher. The market will give you answers no textbook can. And it's not just about business skills or technical ability. You need to learn how to manage yourself, your psychology, your energy, your time. You need to learn how to deal with stress, how to make decisions under uncertainty, how to stay focused for long periods of time while others get distracted. All of that is learnable, but only if you decide that learning isn't a phase. It's the foundation. You don't do it for a few weeks and stop. You make it your identity. You become the person who always knows more today than you did yesterday. You become the person who finds problems interesting, not intimidating. Because solving those problems is how you create wealth. The truth is, in 2025, knowledge is free. The internet gives you almost every piece of information you could need. The bottleneck is never information. The bottleneck is you. How fast can you absorb, apply, and adapt? That's the metric. Millionaires think in terms of inputs and outputs. They ask, what skill can I learn that will produce disproportionate results? What system can I build today that scales tomorrow? And then they go do it, even when they're tired, even when it's hard, even when no one is watching. Relentless learning is not romantic. It's not glamorous. It's often frustrating and boring. But that's the price, if you're willing to pay it. Every single day, you can achieve more in 1 year than most people do in 10. If I wanted to become a millionaire in 2026, I'd make sure that learning wasn't just something I do, it would be who I am. Because once you become the kind of person who learns faster than others and executes better than others, money becomes a byproduct, not a goal, a result. If I wanted to become a millionaire in 2026, I wouldn't chase random trends, copy what others are doing, or try to make a quick buck through shallow tactics. I would focus on solving a real, scalable problem. And I would do it with a 10x solution, not a 10% improvement, not something marginally better. A solution that radically improves a process, experience, or system. Because the market doesn't pay for better, it pays for breakthrough. That's how wealth is created. Think about it, every single company or product that made people millionaires. Whether it was in software, health, logistics, education, finance, or anything else, started by identifying a problem that many people had and asking a simple but powerful question. What if this could be done 10 times better? The goal isn't to fix something that's already working well. The goal is to eliminate friction, confusion, waste, or pain in a way that feels like magic to the customer. That's what people pay for. That's what scales. You don't just build a business. You shift expectations. You redefine what's normal. To do that, you need to think in terms of systems, not just products. Most people focus too much on making something cool and not enough on making something that truly solves a painful problem. And when I say painful, I mean something that people are already spending time, money, or energy trying to fix, just not very effectively. If you can step in with a 10x solution that saves them time, saves them money, or increases their results dramatically, you're not selling, you're serving. The demand will be built into the problem. That's the power of starting with real pain points. But here's the twist: to create a 10x solution, you often have to challenge assumptions. You have to look at how things are being done and ask, why? Why are we doing it this way? Is this based on logic or just tradition? The people who create massive value aren't the ones who follow the rules. They're the ones who question them. Innovation doesn't come from doing what's expected. It comes from seeing what's possible and refusing to accept limits. Once you identify a real problem, you map the user journey. Where's the friction? Where do people get frustrated? Where is value leaking out of the system? That's where your opportunity is. Your job becomes to remove that friction so thoroughly that people feel like you've given them superpowers. That's what a 10x solution feels like. It's not a slightly better hammer, it's a nail gun. It's not faster horses, it's the car. Now, let's talk scalability. A good solution isn't enough. You need a distribution model that allows your solution to reach thousands or millions without needing to manually push it each time. That's where software, automation, content, and digital leverage come into play. If your solution requires your constant input to grow, it's not a scalable system. It's a job disguised as a business. But if your product, service, or platform can spread through networks, word of mouth, or digital infrastructure, then you've built a machine, a money machine. And finally, the emotional piece. When you solve a real problem in a truly meaningful way, people become loyal. Not just customers, fans. They spread your idea. They root for your success. That's how empires are built, not just with code or capital, but with belief. When people believe in your solution, they become part of your mission. So if I wanted to become a millionaire in 2026, I'd stop trying to sell things and start trying to solve things. I'd study problems like a scientist, approach solutions like an engineer, and deliver them like an artist. I'd create something so effective, so obvious in hindsight, that people would wonder how they ever lived without it. That's the power of a 10x solution. That's the formula for wealth. Not complexity, just clarity, focus, and real impact at scale. If I wanted to become a millionaire in 2026, I would fully embrace high-growth, high-leverage channels. The truth is, we are living in the most powerful era of human opportunity. The internet, AI, automation, and digital platforms have unlocked levels of scale and speed that were unthinkable just a decade ago. If you're still playing by the rules of the old world, trading your time for money, relying on manual processes, or trying to do everything yourself, you're playing the wrong game. Millionaires in this era aren't just working harder. They're using leverage. Smart leverage. Let's break that down. Leverage means doing more with less. It means getting results far beyond what your individual time and effort could achieve. And today, leverage comes in multiple forms. Code is leverage. Content is leverage. Capital is leverage. Media is leverage. Even people, when organized correctly, are leverage. If I wanted to become a millionaire in 2026, I wouldn't just work harder. I would build systems that work for me 24/7, even when I'm sleeping, eating, or taking time off. That's how wealth is created, not from effort alone, but from effort multiplied. Start with the internet. The internet is the great amplifier. It lets one idea, one product, one message reach millions. A simple blog post, a short video, a smart tweet, or a powerful product demo. Any of these can go viral, reach the right people, and open doors instantly. But most people consume the internet passively. They scroll, they watch, they admire others. If you want to become wealthy, you have to flip the equation. Become a producer, build content tools and products that solve problems, teach people, or entertains at scale. Your job is not to be seen. Your job is to build something worth seeing. Next is automation. The systems you use should never sleep. Whether it's AI answering customer questions, automations handling lead generation, or back-end systems processing orders, your business should run on rails. If you're the bottleneck for every task, you're not building a business. You're building a trap. The power of automation isn't just in saving time. It's in creating consistency and reliability at scale. You don't need to be everywhere at once. Your systems can be. Then there's content and media. Content is one of the most underrated assets of the modern world. A single YouTube video, podcast interview, tweet thread, or blog post can generate attention, trust, and revenue. Again and again, content doesn't just market for you. It builds your brand. It builds proof. It builds inbound energy. One piece of great content can outperform 1,000 cold calls. But it requires a shift in mindset. Stop chasing people and start attracting them. The more value you give up front, the less you need to convince anyone later. AI is another game changer. We're no longer at the beginning of the AI era. We're in the middle of the explosion. If you're not using AI tools to speed up your content, automate your tasks, analyze your data, or optimize your workflow, you're falling behind. AI is the new electricity. It's powering everything. Whether you're building a SaaS company, an e-commerce brand, a media business, or a freelance practice, integrating AI allows you to do the work in a fraction of the time. But the real leverage comes from combining all of these. For example, imagine building a digital product using AI, promoting it through content on social media, automating the sales funnel, and reinvesting the profits into ads or new content. That's not a dream. It's a repeatable system. And the beauty of it, once it's set up, It can grow without you being directly involved every second. Becoming a millionaire isn't about luck. It's about building momentum using the tools available. And right now, you have access to more powerful tools than billionaires had 20 years ago. You have distribution platforms, creation tools, automation frameworks, and AI models, all waiting to be used. But they only work if you work them. If I wanted to become a millionaire in 2026, I wouldn't try to do everything myself. I'd build systems that scale, tools that multiply, and content that compounds. I wouldn't hustle harder. I'd leverage smarter. Because that's the new blueprint for wealth. If I wanted to become a millionaire in 2026, I'd stop aiming for perfection and start engineering for failure. That might sound counterintuitive at first, but this mindset is critical for building anything valuable. Fast. Most people fail not because their ideas are bad, but because they wait too long, they aim too high at first, or they're afraid to get it wrong. But the truth is, if you're building something meaningful, it will go wrong. That's not a problem. That's the process. If you want to become a millionaire, your ability to iterate quickly, not perfectly, will be your greatest asset. When I say engineer for failure, I mean design your process with failure in mind. Expect it, plan for it, use it, because failure is feedback. The faster you fail, the faster you learn, and the faster you learn, the faster you win. Think of every attempt like a prototype. Version 1 is never the final version. It's just a test. The goal isn't to launch something flawless. The goal is to launch something testable. Something real enough to get data, feedback, and reaction from the market. Once you have that, you can make it better. But without it, you're just guessing. This mindset has been the core of every major innovation, whether in tech, business, or any other domain. Look at how rockets are built. They explode, they break, they fail in dramatic fashion. But with each test, engineers collect data, refine the design, and iterate towards something that works. The only way they can reach orbit is by accepting that failure is the price of progress. It's the same in business. You launch a product, get feedback, improve it. You test a message, see what works, adjust it. You try a sales funnel, analyze the conversion rate, and iterate. The $1 million result is not built in one giant leap. It's built through thousands of micro adjustments, all made faster than the competition. This is where most people get stuck. They wait until it's perfect. They spend months polishing, tweaking, doubting. And by the time they finally launch, they've missed the opportunity. Or worse, they launch and realize it doesn't work, and now they're emotionally drained and financially stretched. That's not strategy. That's ego. Millionaires don't build from ego. They build from data. And you can't get data without releasing something imperfect. But there's another side to this iteration. You can't just fail and call it progress. You need to analyze. You need feedback loops, systems that let you see what's working and what's not, metrics, user feedback, A/B tests, customer behavior. All of it is signal. Your job is to listen to the signal and ignore the noise. Make adjustments based on evidence, not emotion. Improve based on reality, not opinion. That's what makes iteration so powerful. It compounds. Every cycle makes your product, service, system, or skill better. You might not notice the progress day to day, but after 50 iterations, the result is unrecognizable compared to version 1. That's how real breakthroughs happen. Not through inspiration, but through refinement. Relentless refinement. Also, when you engineer for failure, something else happens. You become mentally stronger. You stop fearing mistakes. You stop obsessing over judgment. You develop resilience, and resilience is rare. Resilience gives you endurance. It lets you outlast others who crumble under pressure or give up too soon. In business, survival is underrated. If you can keep going, keep adapting, and keep learning, success becomes inevitable. So if I wanted to become a millionaire in 2026, I'd move fast, break things, fix what matters, and move again. I wouldn't be afraid of being wrong. I'd be afraid of being stuck. I'd launch, learn, and improve again and again until something hit, because the path to success isn't straight. It's experimental. It's uncomfortable. But it works. If I wanted to become a millionaire in 2026, I would stop focusing on how much money I can earn from my time and start focusing on how much ownership I can build. The biggest shift in wealth creation is the shift from income to equity. Income is linear. You trade your hours for dollars. Even if you make a lot, your earnings are always tied to your time. But equity, ownership, is exponential. It means you own a piece of something that grows in value while you sleep. If you want to get rich, not just look rich, you need to stop selling your time and start building or owning assets that grow. Look at anyone who became wealthy in a short time frame. They didn't do it from salaries. They did it from ownership. Equity in a company, shares in a startup, royalties from intellectual property, real estate appreciation, digital products, or scalable online businesses. These are assets that generate value even when you're not actively working on them. The world's most powerful wealth generator isn't hard work. It's leverage through ownership. If I were starting from scratch in 2025 with the goal of hitting millionaire status in 2026, I'd ask myself one question: what can I build or own that doesn't require my constant presence, but increases in value over time? Maybe it's a piece of software that solves a niche problem. Maybe it's an online brand that generates affiliate revenue or ad income. Maybe it's an ebook, a digital course, a licensing deal, or even shares in a startup I co-founded. The specifics can vary, but the core principle stays the same: own something that creates ongoing value. Even if you're working a job right now, that's fine, but use that job as a springboard. Save aggressively, invest wisely, and most importantly, build something on the side that you own outright. You don't need to quit your job tomorrow, but you do need to stop relying on it as your only vehicle to wealth. Use your spare time to build ownership. One digital product, one micro business, one revenue-generating website. That's all it takes to start. And once it works, you scale it. There's also another kind of ownership, audience ownership. If you build a community, a following, or a customer base that trusts you, you now own attention, which is one of the most valuable currencies in the digital world. You can sell products, launch services, partner with brands, and monetize in endless ways. But the leverage comes from the fact that you don't need to ask for permission. You already own the platform. That's equity. And let's talk about equity in other people's businesses. Maybe you don't want to build something from scratch. That's okay. But you can still offer your skills in exchange for a small percentage of someone else's startup. You can negotiate profit, sharing agreements, co-founding deals, or advisory equity. The idea is to always be thinking, how do I own part of this? Not just how do I get paid today, but how do I benefit tomorrow if this works? It requires a shift in mindset. Most people are trained to think short term, get paid now, spend now, live now. But that thinking keeps you broke. Wealthy people plant seeds. They build things that take time to grow, but once they mature, they pay forever. Every dollar you earn should have a mission: to help you own something valuable, not just to fund your lifestyle. If I wanted to become a millionaire in 2026, I wouldn't look for more hours to work. I'd look for assets to own. I'd stop asking, what can I earn? And start asking, what can I build that earns for me? That one mental shift, from labor to leverage, is the difference between working your whole life and becoming financially free in one bold year. If I wanted to become a millionaire in 2026, I would adopt a non-negotiable work ethic fueled by deep purpose. Not just temporary motivation, not just discipline for a few weeks. I'm talking about a way of living where the intensity, focus, and drive come from something much deeper than money. Because here's the truth, becoming a millionaire in a single year is not normal. It's not supposed to be easy. It's not comfortable. It will demand more of you than anything you've done before. And if your why is weak, you will quit. But if your purpose is strong, unshakable, then nothing can stop you. Work ethic is not about grinding endlessly or wearing exhaustion like a badge of honor. That's not what wins. What wins is doing the work even when no one is watching, showing up at 5 a.m. when it would be easier to hit snooze, staying focused when distractions are everywhere, saying no to parties, weekends, entertainment. Not because you're punishing yourself, but because you're building something too important to delay. It's about creating a standard so high that anything less feels like betrayal. That's how millionaires think. That's how they operate. Not with luck, but with intention. But here's the key, you can't just force discipline. You have to want it. You have to believe that your future is worth the sacrifices. You have to see what you're building so clearly in your mind that it becomes real to you before anyone else sees it. You need a vision so big, so undeniable, that it drags you forward even on the days when your motivation is gone. Purpose is what makes hard work sustainable. It's what turns action into obsession. This is where most people break down. They get excited about results. The car, the house, the numbers in the bank account. But that excitement fades when the grind starts. When they hit resistance, they fall apart because their desire was built on fantasy, not purpose. But if you anchor yourself to something real, changing your family's future, proving something to yourself, building something that matters, then the work becomes personal. It becomes sacred. And you stop needing outside motivation because you're driven from the inside. Now let's talk about consistency. You can't cheat consistency. You can't work hard for 1 month, expect generational wealth. The work has to become part of who you are. And that's the real breakthrough. When you stop negotiating with yourself, you don't decide every day whether or not to work. You just do it, like brushing your teeth, like breathing. It's not optional. It's who you are. That identity shift is powerful. Because when your self-image aligns with your goals, everything becomes easier. You no longer rely on willpower. You operate from identity. Of course, you'll face doubt. You'll face rejection. People will laugh. They'll misunderstand. They'll tell you to slow down, be realistic, or take the safer route. Let them. Because they won't understand the level of obsession required to compress 10 years of progress into one. But you do. And you're willing to pay the price. That's what separates the top 1% from everyone else, the willingness to suffer now to build freedom later. Millionaires aren't superhuman. They just do the work that others won't do for long enough, until they get results that others can't even imagine. And they don't do it alone. They build teams, find mentors, surround themselves with people who match their pace. Success becomes a collective mission, but it starts with one person who refuses to settle. So if I wanted to become a millionaire in 2026, I wouldn't leave my work ethic to chance. I'd protect my time, my focus, my environment, and my energy like my life depends on it. Because in many ways, it does. I would treat every day like a mission, not a maybe. I'd operate like I have no plan B. Because when your purpose is strong enough, there is no plan B, there is only forward.